Good morning, good morning, good morning. Haiti Biz News Show. We are back and we are on location once again. It's good to be back. For those who are watching this perhaps after the fact, be aware you can always catch the stream live Mondays through Friday from around 7 a.m. or so Eastern. If you are so inclined, it's great to be able to do so because you're able to engage directly with me, directly with, and have your questions are answered live on the air, right? As it were. But certainly either way, for those who tune in after the fact or live, do appreciate you watching and staying informed on all activity that's going on in the country, in particular how it relates to business, your prospects for entrepreneurship, and the ultimate growth of the country. We have Sean Saturn on YouTube. First time seeing Sean in the chat. Good morning, my brother. Appreciate you for popping in. Always appreciate it. So as always, we do have YouTube SeeJeanty. You're always welcome to take a look at what's going on the channel. Most recently, we had a fantastic Anu Pale. I haven't had an Anu Pale in a while. Of course, the Anu Pale series is a series geared toward helping folks adjust from the U.S. life to the Haitian life, in particular as it relates to business. That whole series, the whole playlist is a playlist worth playing. In particular, we had a veteran entrepreneur, entrepreneurs Daniel and Colleen Frambois, who were on, who gave their perspective on doing business in the country. There were a group of folks who, they've been through every crisis. In fact, they moved to Haiti during the embargo, and as you know, the embargo was nothing to be joked with. Makes what's going on even now seem as if lighthearted play. And they were able to actually grow a very successful bakery business, which they've parlayed into real estate currently. And so they provide an incredible perspective. Honestly, probably one of my more informative on the So if you haven't watched that video yet, link will be in the description, but also you just go to YouTube, SeeJeanty, will be the most recent video uploaded. All right. Next, of course, I'm going to plug this probably one more week, which is my NPR interview. Do check that out for folks, especially who might be new to what's going on here, to get a sense of what I'm about, get a sense of what we're trying to do here. That link is in the description below. This is me and Tim Paget having a conversation. Of course, everything we talk about today, Haiti Biz News, HaitiBizNews.com. So no matter if I'm on air, if I'm not, during the weekends when we're not on air, you can always go to HaitiBizNews.com for your most up-to-date news and information, right, on what's going on the economic climate in the country. BookHaiti.com, of course, will be back fully. I was back now, but certainly given the trepidations that's going on in the country, I understand there's not much demand for it. But once we are back and the country is moving as it is, BookHaiti.com is available for you guys to travel. We have a couple of excursions. We got travel guides to make sure that your trip to Haiti is a fun and successful. So that's BookHaiti.com. Bunge GoFundMe, of course, we're still trying to help out Bunge in their situation. They're a socio center that we're helping a lot of young youth start their businesses. That over 80 businesses, startups, somewhat mature businesses in their facility, and they were fortunately adversely affected by the protests. So we're trying to help them get back on their feet. As I can see, they're almost at 26,000. So let's make it a point. Let's see what we can do, guys, to contribute to what they got going on. I'm going ahead and put the link to the GoFundMe into the description because we got to keep on fighting for what's right in the country. And even though a few thugs may have tried to take it away, we're going to show them that we are stronger and our mission for the country is grander than what they could potentially do. And that's why we're here. And that's why we got to help Bunge, provide whatever you can, right? And of course, good morning to Martine Wonders. Do definitely appreciate you in the stream this morning. We got Nico and Gina. In the chat. Good morning. Looking at IG, we got a couple folks waving back. Good morning, everyone in IG land. Of course, if you're in IG land watching this, we do have a stream on YouTube and a stream on Facebook. Might be a little easier to communicate there. And this is really geared really more towards those two mediums, whereas the IG is sort of a backup bonus, right? So let's get started. Haiti Biz News show, Monday to Friday, bringing you news that's going to keep you informed, engaged, and reacting in the most optimal way for your business, investment, entrepreneur activity. Today is the 21st of October. Let's talk about it. Of course, we're back here in studio. We were traveling last week, so it's good to be back in the native land that is Haiti. So it's good to be back here to provide content and updates on what's going on. Certainly, one of the first things we've got to talk about, of course, is how the updates are doing. How the protests are doing. Certainly, the schools still have not been reopened across the country. Schools are still closed. I'm hearing this week, parents in particular, are who are most worried about sending their kids back to school right now, even though somewhat the energy, full run of the energy has sort of dissipated a little bit, but there's still massive protests going on, still that draw thousands in certain parts of the city. There's still a very difficult situation going on in the provinces where there's still roadblocks happening sporadically throughout the roads that connect the different towns. And so it can be said that there still is a movement that's still at a very high level to get the president out. For example, today the teachers unions across the country are working, are doing a march to get the president to resign. Tomorrow we have a Haitian Conference of Religion asking religion denominations to join them on the march on Tuesday, and they're asking all denominations, although I believe it's a Catholic-based organization, they're asking all denominations in the Christian faith in Haiti to join them in a march in solidarity and silence to help, also with what they see, which is getting President Jovenel Moise out of power. President Moise, to his credit, has lived up to what he said he's going to do, which is be more active in telling his part of the story. He has taken social media. I've seen him set a few different and newer campaigns of trying to tell his part in terms of what's going on and this work he's done. His part, he certainly has made it clear that he's dug in and he isn't going anywhere. Certainly, for better or for worse, that is what's going on, and that's the reality. And he's made some very big splashes of late, and we're going to talk about that in particular as relates to the private electricity providers in the country. He made subtle shots at them at his last speech that he gave live in front of the press, and he's actually putting words into action. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the implications, and we're going to talk about some underlying motivations that may be driving a lot of this situation, right? So we're going to have a very action-packed discussion. Let me sip a little bit of water here. We have La Toche over in IG saying, I'm a flight trying to watch the live, but it keeps interrupting. Will you mind saving the live? For sure, we certainly will save it. And y'all in IG land, let me know how the stream is going. It should be fun. I got connected to a pretty solid connection here, but y'all can let me know if it's still cutting off, just that one person, or it's happening to others, right? Your tax spa, New York Times. I haven't seen that article, so I can't speak on it. I think I've talked about, Haiti is in a very perilous situation. I talked about it on my very first NPR speech, but an interview that Haiti is very close to a humanitarian crisis. In some places already, it's very dire. particularly in the provinces where they haven't been able to receive supplies or gasoline going on 2 3 months now. So I haven't read the article, so I can't speak to the details, but I can tell you that it is very much a serious situation. There's no, you know, it has to be understood. The situation right now is very serious for millions of Haitians in the country, right? But I'll try to find that article and see what the details of the article is about. We got low key slapping haters over on YouTube. Good morning, my brother. And we got my Lebate Financiere over also on YouTube. Good morning. Good morning. So let's talk about these. What's going on with the electricity contracts in Haiti, and the fact that Jovenel has really started to come after some of the owners here. Now, it's important to understand that for two of the larger private electricity providers, um, they actually, okay, they actually, right, have are actually they're public-private partnerships, in so much that these entities are uh, taking care of what is in actuality public utilities and charge government for. That's very important to understand before we go any further. For two of the three larger ones, which is e-power and SeeJeanty, that is a situation, right, where you have these private entities are taking care of managing a public utility, right? It was the government that built two, three. So these sites that they manage, um, with SeeJeanty managing three uh, three plants in effect, and e-power managing two. Uh, Actually, no, no, it's High Track. Actually, High Track. Let me take a look at the notes here. Yeah, that's High Track. That takes care of it. So you High Track. In addition, also all three are being managed by public utilities. Let's be very clear, that are being managed by private entities that are charging the Haitian government. Right? So there might be a perception that these private entities built these plants from scratch, right, themselves, and are providing power. That's not the case. The government has built them, and then allowed, in effect, these companies to manage. Now, these companies did make investments into these plants, right, to either get them up to speed or rehab them to get them more efficient. They make side, for example, High Track made a $5 million investment relatively recently on these plants. I understand that the owners of all three sites, and some of these sites have multiple plants on them. For example, High Track has two sites, one in Okai, another in Guave, that provide electricity to those communes, right? So let's start right there. Right now that we're there, right? Let's move forward. So three major suppliers. SeeJeanty provides 56 megawatts of electricity. But in actuality, I think recently reading what Dimitri Vorb, who is the owner of um, SeeJeanty, said they're producing actually about 50 megawatts or so, even though they have a capacity, are supposed to have a capacity of 56. We have e-power, um, providing 30 megawatts of electricity, right? And that's run well, the chairman of the board for that organization is Daniel Gerard Boisier, right? And then we have High Track, which produces about 12 megawatts for those communes outside. Now, each of these power plants utilize diesel. They burn diesel. They're massive diesel generators, right? And they burn diesel. Let's let that sink in for a second. We want folks to understand that the bulk of Haiti's electricity comes from the burning of diesel. Now, this harkens in part because of Venezuela and the fact that we were getting cheap oil from Venezuela, and thus the infrastructure around electricity for the last 10-ish years have been invested into producing electricity in that manner rather than other manners, for example, coal, for example, solar, for example, other ways that potentially could be much more long lasting. Only recently has there been a push really aggressively towards more renewable, and there's been a handful of solar panel farms that have been constructed, but very small, and they're mainly focused on providing small little villages on the outskirts of the provinces electricity rather than larger. And they're very cut off, and that they're not integrated into the larger electricity grid. Let's be clear on that. Right? In terms of cost, SoGener that produces 56 megawatts. Now what they charge the government is a little unclear, but we're going to get to the unique situation of SoGener in a moment. But for ePower, we can say that it's very clear that they're charging in effect per year $60 million to produce 30 megawatts of electricity, and that's in effect $2 million per megawatt. Hytrack, for its 12 megawatts that it produces, it charges $24 million for their electricity. That's $2 million per megawatt that they're charging the state through EDH to provide electricity, right? And that's why the perception of these institutions is that they're, the Haitian government's paying millions of dollars for blackouts, right? Because as anyone who's visited the country or just knows of the country, we're very far away from 24/7 electricity, very far away from it. And of course, the entire output of the electrical grid of Haiti. Haiti needs about 250 megawatts of electricity for the country to have 24/7 electricity. Haiti currently produces only about 100 to 150 megawatts, with the vast majority of the electricity coming from the Pellegrini dam, hydroelectric dam, right, just north of Miagua area, right, with the rest being made up almost entirely by these sort of private public sort of partnerships. Right? So let's be very clear on that. Now, there would need to be much more sizable investment in electricity to really make a dent in what we need, because we're getting less than half of electricity that we need to power the country. So it's a little disingenuous for folks to say, "Oh, we're paying for blackouts, a lot of money for blackouts," when in actuality, we're paying for the level of megawatts that we have, and we need to spend more money to be able to acquire more megawatts and be able to hit our target, right? Of course, there's other things involved in terms of the power lines that are, dated to be very generous, right? And even then, there's been some recent investments there through Taiwan to help with that situation. But the bottom line is Haiti needs more power plants. There's period. We need more power plants. 2 to 3 potentially big power plants that can produce upwards of 40 to 50 megawatts dispersed across the country, right? But nonetheless, we're focused right now on this electrical contract. So let's focus on there. So ePower and Hytrack, in effect, are charging $2 million a megawatt. To put that number in context, in countries in the Caribbean, in particular, the megawatt charge for running the capacity is a little closer to about $1 million per megawatt, right? 1 million to actually 500,000. It ranges between 500,000 and $1 million, right, to maintain the annual cost, right? So in Haiti, you're getting a charge of almost 2 times. You follow me? Almost 2 times what it is in the rest of the Caribbean, which is why the IDB, IMF, a lot of large organizations that understand this um, have for a long time come out and said, you guys have to restructure your contracts. The fact that you're paying almost double for electricity doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't add up, right? Um, and there's always been a big push for that. And it's been known too that they've been charging. Matali tried and it wasn't successful, and President Moise is trying, right? And we'll ultimately see where he's at. But by the way, the contracts were signed primarily under Preval, um, and it's certainly maybe understood why Preval was able to, even though wasn't easy 2 terms, but it kind of puts into context why Preval was able to finish his terms. The only president in the recent era to actually be able to do that. Because some argue that the reason why he was able to finish his terms was because he was very buddy with the big money powers, awarding them with very large contracts to keep them happy and keep people out the streets and allow them to finish his term. That's a perspective, that I'm not saying is the reality or not. That's certainly a perspective, right? And understand as well, though the contracts were signed under Preval, many of these expired. Many of these expired in 2014, but they've just stayed with the current terms up until today, which is why so many presidents have really pushed to renegotiate the terms because the contracts are in effect expired, despite the fact we're paying them at the same rate. But of course, they resisted considerably, right? They resisted considerably. And let's see where I want to go next here. So, in particular, the reasons why they resist are different. Before I go to SeeJeanty, it's a very unique case. E-Power basically stated, and so what's happened recently is that on Friday, President Moise sent letters, and in some cases more than that, to the owners of these plants, right, and stating that in the case of E-Power, hey, we need to renegotiate. There's no ifs and buts about it. We need to renegotiate. These terms are unacceptable. In fact, more so, here are the terms that we expect to see on the new contract, and we need you to get us this contract back by. They have this meeting. I believe I've written down here tomorrow, the 22nd, where President Moise is going to sit with these guys and basically say, hey, here's what we expect. Here's the price point we expect. Make it happen. Okay. However, they've pushed back, and E-Power has said no. The stipulations of our contracts are very clear. You can make amendments, but you can't just straight up change the entire terms. We have obligations. You have to understand that we work with a group of banks that finance this. You can't just turn around and change the terms like that. At best, what you should do is create a brand new bidding process and allow us and other people to bid, and then you choose through that manner, right? But just to send a brand new contract and brand new terms is unacceptable to us, and that's what E-Power stance is. High-Track stance is there has been a public issuance on their perspective, because they're in a pretty dire state. Here's why. High-Track, actually, the state has said, you know what, we're just going to take over. It's ours anyways, right? We're just going to run it, right? We're going to run it until we have a new contract in place. EDH has moved in and taken over two of their sites, and basically have said that we're going to provide the power to Okai and Petit Guave. That's it, right? Now, SeeJeanty is in a particular situation, right? Because, and this has been known for a very long time, that they haven't paid BIMPOD money for the oil, for the diesel that they were receiving to burn. And they haven't paid for years. They haven't paid since June of 2012 up until today. Okay, and in fact, they've accrued an amount of 194 million USD. I'm gonna say it again. SeeJeanty has not paid for the diesel that they've been receiving, going on 7 years, and they currently owe 194 million USD. Okay. Now, you can ask, so why didn't they just stop operations? Now, Mr. Vorb says, it's given the dire situation of electricity in the country, it would be wrong for him to stop, operating and stop receiving the diesel from BMPOD and other places, because that would be the wrong thing to do, right? To understand why he hasn't paid, he says that EDH hasn't paid him, right? He said, because remember, they're selling electricity to the state. And the state's supposed to turn around and pay them for the electricity that they're receiving. And he has provided documentation that, yes, he owes BMPOD, or his company owes BMPOD 194 million, but BMPOD, EDH owes his company 204 million. So in effect, he's saying, hey, listen, I'll pay you if you pay me, right? I have received payment. So you can't expect me to pay one government entity if you haven't paid me for the electricity that I've provided. I think that's a solid argument in return. Very much so, right? Potentially. I'm not, again, an impartial middleman here. I'm not trying to pick sides, but I'm just understanding the strength of arguments, and it makes sense to me, right? How can I be expected to pay if you haven't paid me, right? And so they've also received letters. SeeJeanty has also received letters stating that they need to negotiate the contract, and more than that, actually, they've been asked to pay. They've been given 3 days, 3 business days, to pay the full amount. Actually, that's actually up to 233 million, because they tacked on an additional 20% for attorney fees, right? So they're at dual 233 million. The state says they owe. Otherwise, I don't know what teeth they have behind this, right? But certainly President Moise is saying, again, they're going to overbuild between the technical failures, the fact that they have tax exemption across the board for many different things, including things that are brought in through customs, and other unfair things that they Moise and others have said that has disadvantaged the state for these private entities, right? So that's sort of the story in brief, right? On the contractor side, E-Power is very clear that just sending them a brand new term of agreements and saying, hey, make a contract out of this, is something they're not going to do. They're saying just, they want to open bidding, fair and square. They responded to it. They were picked because they provide the best deal per dollar. It went to the courts, the Court of Cassation, which is sort of the audit to see if there's anything funny or anything inappropriate with the deals. Nothing was found with those deals. And basically they're saying, listen, you guys have to respect the rule of law and respect contracts, right? And you just can't go and change stuff. That's already agreed upon, right? And that's E-Power's perspective. That's SeeJeanty's perspective. That's High-Trend's perspective. It's a fight for them. What they're saying publicly now, it's a fight for rule of law and the strength of business contracts between private entities in general and private entities and the government. Okay? That's sink in for you guys. So let's get into the meat and potatoes here, right? So then here's the analysis part. So Jovenel, rightly or wrongly, feels that a lot of the financial support for what's going on in the streets right now is coming from the elites, right? And that includes the folks who are running the electricity companies, in addition to other sectors, right? And so he's making a play. He's making a stance to say, not only am I not going anywhere, I am going to return the menace, right? Not only am I going to not go anywhere, but those who think they can bully me, I'm gonna bully you back, right? And the most symbolic symbol of Haiti's elite businesses, the businesses of Haiti, are these very large contracts that are fully owned, ran by the elite, the very wealthy private citizens of Haiti. And by going after them, he's doing two things. First, setting a very important signal that he's not to be messed with. That's number one. It's very important to understand these very Haiti political games or politricks. Someone reference to them and understand them in proper context. That's number one. And number two, understand that the big backer for Jovenel today is the international community, in particular the IMF, IDB, and et cetera. And the IMF, IDB, you can go back and do a Google search and you can see for as many years, for going back maybe 5 years, the IMF has been begging and pleading and incentivizing and penalizing us, I say us, the Haitian government, for keeping these contracts that are very usury in place, right? And by going after these contracts, he is basically saying, hey guys, remember, I voted against Venezuela. Remember guys, I haven't allowed China to come in. Remember guys, I've allowed the IMF, whatever IMF says, I follow. Remember the gas prices that initially happened last year when I just raised the prices up, 50%. The IMF told me to do that. Even the IMF told me to do it more subtly, but I don't care. I'm Jovenel. I do what I want. And also now I'm going after these contracts that IMF has said also to do, right? Currently, Jovenel's really only play to power is international community, right? Because obviously every sector in Haiti, every single sector, from the poorest to the richest to the most laid back to the most militant, have all said we don't want you anymore, right? And so it makes sense when you look at through the lens of going after his most dangerous and most resourced enemy, right? And going after additional support for an international community, that he would focus right here in this particular lane rather than addressing the things that the protesters want, in particular corruption, in particular making arrests for the Petro Coribe, which of course he's not going to do because his party was heavily implicated in that. He's not going to do, but he will go after these energy companies. It doesn't make sense. It's a win-win across the board. He's going after his enemies, and he is doing, the expressed desire of the only sole group of power that keeps him in power, right? So that's the play, right? And when you speak, I've spoken to a few folks I have on the ground here in terms of what's really going on. Why is Jovenel really doing this? And they all come back almost universally saying, you know what? Yeah, he's making a statement, right? Because a lot of the people on the streets are being paid to be on the streets by these people. And so he is making a statement and going after the people paying them. It's just that simple, right? Now, this is what I'm being told. Obviously, I have a perspective that, so many of these people, many of these people are on the street because, high inflation, high corruption, dissatisfaction, right? And there's a small percentage that indeed being incentivized to be on the streets and do desert, but it's you can't be in the country and see how bad things have gotten over the years and say that, oh, all these people are being paid. No, there's people who are legitimately mad and angry about the situation in the country, right? But nonetheless, there's still a big undercurrent, particularly the ones who get violent. Um, it's been shown and agreed upon that the violence is tied to payment here in Haiti, right? So that's the situation. I really took my time to make sure I provided a good understanding of the interplay between electricity and power and who the players are and how much they produce and how much they owe. Where things are going to go next, we're going to watch very closely. We're going to watch very closely because where things go next is a big question mark. Whether or not the Haitian government, is actually going to follow through with his threats to ultimately take over these companies, we're going to see, right? But we're certainly watching. We're watching closely. Okay. So let me take a few comments, and then we're going to be off the air here. Pretty rare, about pushing 30 minutes, and we had a very good exposure on the topic. All right, so let's take a look. We have Dajamini on YouTube saying, how difficult is the Haitian government to make their own electricity and supply it to its own people? You live in a world where that there's no such thing as the government making its own. You live in a world where these things are very expensive to create, whatever it may be, from a power plant to even solar panels. It takes a level of expertise. You have to hire that expertise, particularly since Haiti doesn't really have that. Bring them in, right? And that's expensive. These things are in the hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars, and you usually get it by financing, right? By private banks and more of these public development banks. And so there is a level of coordination that has to be done, and also the cost is very high. And when the costs are that high, you want to bring in specialist companies, specialist organizations, specialist governments to help you do it in an as efficient, as productive manner as possible. For example, the Pelegri Dam, for example, though it was started under, I want to say Estime, in the late 40s, early 50s, and finished under Duvalier. It was actually built by the United States Corps of Engineers. Just so you get an understanding of that, there is no such thing as the Haitian government making its own electricity, right? You have to hire someone or something to come in and build it for you, right? Now, the question might be is how difficult it would be for them to actually manage their own electricity supply. And the reality, too, is that governments across the world have shown that when governments run things, governments do a bad job, right? It gets politicized. The incentives to improve and sustain aren't there as it would be in a private entity where profit and shareholder value is what drives a lot of decisions, which ultimately also means efficiency. So this structure actually is the best way to go about it. The way we have it right now is just that the terms that we have it, when you look across the region, in terms of the cost per megawatt, is ridiculously expensive. Right now, as someone who does business in the country, I can certainly understand. Right, doing business in Haiti is very expensive. A lot of people understand. They come, they see, oh, it's okay, things got to be cheap here. No, actually, the reality is doing business here is very expensive because you have to, do investment in infrastructure that you don't necessarily have to do in other places. For example, even today, I have guys coming in and finishing my solar panels. 2 weeks ago, I had to buy a second generator that costs upwards in the thousands of dollars because I need a backup for my backup generator in case my primary generator is down. These are all expenses I wouldn't have to do if I was in a developed country, right? And folks don't really understand that or appreciate that, right? So I understand certainly that doing business in this country, again, I can go on and on and on where the expenses are much higher. if I were in the States, right? Doing business in the country is expensive. We get it. But is it double expensive, right? Particularly when you're working in a large per volume corporation, as these large energy companies are. They're very massive, where they have massive scale, right? Is it? I don't know. I'm not inside. I'm not on their board. I'm not on their executive team. I don't know. Maybe they can justify a 1.3 or 1.2 multiplier, but can they justify a 2 times? I don't know. And a lot of very smart people, smart organizations have said no. We looked at the numbers, and what these companies are charging the state is too expensive. Right? That Jasmine follows up, says, can the money they're paying the private sector, can they use to make their own? But again, yeah, I think I got it harder. I think certainly the government can be a driver to, um, helping organize and facilitate new power plants being produced. But I don't think they should manage them. Governments are bad managers. Governments should not manage things, it's particularly things like utilities and stuff of that sort. They should have a private entity manage it, because case after case across the world has shown that when the government manages and holds on to these sort of things, they do a very poor job of maintenance, of efficiency, of cost, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see what else we have here. We have Nico and Gina saying, let's see, Kim Hughes from Wiki News certainly said that the interviews revolved for Hillary. Yep, it certainly was. Mark Joseph, good morning, my brother. Good morning, good to see you. Pierre Paul, I kind of want President Jojo to resign and miss all the things going, but has anyone looked at the details of the past 30 years and how things have been functioning in Haiti? I think it's understood. Haiti's experience with democracy is pretty bad, right? And really hasn't produced tangible results for the livelihoods of the people. And certainly, Jovenel himself leaving isn't going to change anything. That should may make it worse. One reason why I've changed my perspective of Jovenel leaving, because before I was very much with him staying because of stability, but I've changed because there's been so much talk of not just changing the president, but changing the Constitution and getting a Constitution that would allow for the diaspora to directly involve in the political ecosystem, right? And provide. Would it change everything? I don't know, but it certainly would add a new flavor, a new ingredient to the mix that could potentially change things. Because right now, the way things are right now, we're demanding change to a system that hasn't changed, right? There has been no structural change to the system, but yet we're asking for it to change, and that doesn't make any sense. That's insanity, right? That's Einstein's. You're asking for different results using the same inputs, and that doesn't make any sense, right? And that's really what's been driving my desire for him to leave, is that if he were to leave, there's been talks that there's going to be commissions or dialogue around creating a brand new constitution and resetting the system, because the system isn't working, right? But certainly, if Jovenel was to leave and we were just to vote in a new provisional government, get a provisional government that votes in a new government, I would be very angry, because I would know there is no change, and this new government is going to be right back here another 5 years, 4 years after. We're going to be right back here, because what has changed? What laws have changed? What has structurally changed that's going to allow these corrupt politicians to stop being corrupt? Nothing, right? And so let it be clear that my perspective of Joe is driven by one thing only: a promise by the parties demanding the change that once he leaves, it won't be business as usual. There is going to be a clean sweep. We're going to put a new constitution in place with less senators, less deputies, right? Less thieves with hands on the pot, is how I look at it. Change this parliament PM nonsense system that really drives a lot of backhand deals and corruption by itself to a simple president, vice president democracy. and additionally allow for a direct participation by the diaspora. Right, we have 80% of our most educated and talent is living abroad, and a lot of them would love to come back and contribute, but aren't able to. So we need to allow it to be. If you're Haitian descent, you can do anything and everything you want in the country. That's it. That's it. So like any Jewish person anywhere in the world can go back to Israel, and as long as they show their heritage, they have full rights to the entire system that is Israel. Haiti needs to have a very similar system. Haitian, that's it. You can do everything, anything to contribute in your country. Wall, an entrepreneurial wall that says no, you have to actually have been born here, right? And never years of despair has been folks have had to leave to seek a better life, not because they chose to, but because they've had to. And a lot of these people want to come back and help their country improve, but now that you're telling them now you can't come back. So bad. Talking about, you see what I'm saying? So this as many times as I have that. The reason why I'm for Dobino leaving is changes that are supposed to come after him. If there were come behind, because I'm ahead, no real change, right? That's my your from China about this before, and the short answer is yes. All you have to do is look at the proposal, and really the proposal China had was to totally redo port from every sense, from electricity to roads, wider street, actually rebuilding the government buildings. Have a contract, and they're rebuilding some all the parliament buildings, and with the only thing not being built by them yet is the National Palace. But all the buildings, all that is being rebuilt currently right now. So that's an easy Google search. You can see for yourself. Yeah. China, even though we're because the U.S. doesn't want us to, right? Let's see. Not that DR understand that question, but Haiti belongs to Haitians in a sense. Electricity. I think that's it. It doesn't allow me to scroll. Okay, there it is. A promise of the new constitution. Yep, that would be ideally it. Carla, APRN. Good morning. And then Sean Telsman will be the last status I read today, and he's saying, "I'm glad you decided to come on my side, so we agree that the president should stay in power. That now that you see what's going on." I think John came in very late in the stream. I didn't say that at all. I'm saying he needs to go. Let's be very clear. All I'm saying is, if I didn't have promises that there would be drastic change of the entire system, I would be on the side for him to stay. But I am not on his side for him to stay. He needs to go so that what folks are saying that we're going to have a new constitution, a bunch of different things, so that can happen, right? Not just another provisional government that's going to vote just another president, PM in, and the corrupt system keeps spinning its wheels, right? So that's very, very clear. Again, I mean, my liberty fan said the very last one. Even if he is subtly bad, president elected by the people should stay in place. Next lessons decided. Construction is happening outside my place now, and I'll just say I agree with you, my brother. I'll leave it at that. This guys, while this construction is going on, we're going to end it. HaitiBizNews.com for all your news and information. Remember, we dropped a brand new video as a link below on Pale. Really good stuff. Make sure to check it out. And of course, Monday through Friday, we're here, 7 a.m. Eastern. I appreciate everyone who was on the stream today. I appreciate all the comments, all the discussion. Hope it was value added. If you felt this was a value added conversation, please make sure you share it. Share the stream. Let's get the information out. Let's improve the intelligent quotient of our conversations abroad, because we really need the driver of change of the country will be to be much more informed as a people, so we can make much better decisions on improvement. All right, guys, this noise again. Peace.